Stop me if you've heard this before, but West Virginia just got embarrassed again in Big 12 play. We're going to have the full story here for you on Mountaineer Moment. This is the Mountaineer Moment, your source for all things West Virginia football and basketball. From pregame to postgame coverage and breaking news, we've got you covered. Let's go. All right, West Virginia fans, welcome back to another episode of Mountaineer Moments. Wherever you're listening, watching, this is episode number 49 of the podcast, available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music. Wherever you're listening or watching, consider subscribing to the Mountaineer Moment so you can be in the know, and we have new content dropping for you. And this is a bit of a doozy. So West Virginia once again falls, once again in blowout fashion, once again embarrassed on the road as the Mountaineers come out of the bye week for the second half of the season. Talk around the facility is, it's a opportunity to, for a fresh start and to get right and to finish the season strong. And you come out against a UCF team that's also winless in conference play, and you just lay a freaking egg. Absolutely embarrassed. 45-13, the final in Orlando. It was a 14-7 game at half, and then UCF went on to score 3 unanswered touchdowns in the third quarter, giving them a big lead that the Mountaineers were not able to recover from. As expected, we saw 2 Mountaineer quarterbacks. It was Scotty Fox Jr., the true freshman, getting his first start. First Mountaineer true freshman quarterback to start since I think they said the 50s, which is remarkable. Khalil Wilkins got a lot of action too, and to no one's surprise, this offense just continued to suck. I mean, they continued to struggle, continued to not be able to get anything done through the air. Had 131 yards on the ground, but it took them 49 carries to do that for just an average of 2.7 yards on the ground. And then on the other side of the ball, UCF did whatever they wanted to just about every time they wanted to do it. And that's really the story in this one. But that's been the story through West Virginia's 0-4 start, 2-5 overall, but 0-4 start to conference play. They just flat out aren't playing well. They're not good. And, you had to think, and, I mentioned it on this podcast and other platforms, like, okay, you're coming out of a bye week. You're against the UCF team that's, probably better than you a little bit, but they also are struggling. They've lost 3 in a row to start conference play. You get a team that's a little bit more on your level, and you come out and lose by 32. Like, what in the world? And 6 of those were, a touchdown with under 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter thanks to a late interception. When a West Virginia player, I think it was Jordan Walker, got an interception late against a backup UCF quarterback. Like, okay, congratulations, and then he puts us in scoring position, and you end up scoring a touchdown somehow after a blown snap where it went 10 yards back. It was just a mess. It was just a mess, and it was an epitome of what West Virginia football has been about this season. That play alone is just, if you go back and watch it, I don't know if you were still watching it in the fourth quarter. If you were, I guess you're a true fan. Jordan Walker gets that pick, sets you up inside the 5-yard line, and then a snap just goes sailing over or by Scotty Fox, who was in at the time. He did a decent job to dive on it back at the 20-yard line. Then Justin Smith-Brown catches a pass from the 20-yard line and then takes it into the end zone, but they said it wasn't a touchdown. He was clearly in the end zone. I don't know what that was. And then it was Dior Hubbard who ended up getting a rushing touchdown from a yard out, but just brutal. Just brutal. This was such an ugly performance, such a bad game, such a struggling team. And, if you saw the thumbnail for this one, it's West Virginia's best player is Oliver Straw. If you don't know who Oliver Straw is, he's the punter for this team. Ollie Straw led the team in rush yards per attempt with his fake punt that he took off for 12 yards on, I think, a 4th and 7. So he had not the longest run of the day, but the most, average one carry for 12 yards for him. But it wasn't just that on the fake. I think it was early in the game. I think it was the Mountaineers' first drive, he pinned UCF deep. Yep, he pinned UCF deep inside the 3-yard line, and then it took UCF 6 plays to go 97 yards. And then there was a moment, must have been later in the first half. He had another really, really, really good punt that pinned them, I think, also inside the 5-yard line. So shout out to Ollie Straw, who we don't talk about very much on here, but he was the Mountaineers' best player today. So that means he was on the field a lot and, again, picked up a 12-yard carry. So shout out to Oliver Straw. But never a good sign when you see a punter that much on the field. Never a good sign when your punter leads the team in rushing yards per attempt. Never a good sign when you're sitting here like me rambling about how good the punter played, because that's all that you can think of to say in a 45-13 loss where you just got flat out embarrassed once again. The other, and I'm going on a tangent here, but like the other good thing, I guess you could take away from this, at least for myself, I haven't sweated, I haven't been nervous about a West Virginia football game since the backyard brawl, right? Because you get flat out embarrassed against Kansas on the road, you get flat out embarrassed at home against Utah, you get flat out embarrassed by BYU in a 14-point game that really could have been worse, and then you go on the road after the bye week against a team that sucks in conference play just like you do, and you lose 45-13. Well done, right? Like, this is awful. This is awful, and I haven't sweated a West Virginia football game, haven't been nervous for the start, haven't been nervous for the finish, because they've given us nothing to be worried about. Nothing. This team downright is not good, and here we are, right? We still got 5 games to go in the regular season. You thought, okay, maybe we're going to turn it around in the second half, but that flat out didn't happen. So let me just give you a few more things about the game, and then we'll be wrapped up with this episode. But again, final score 45-13, just manhandled from start to finish yet again. Scotty Fox and Khalil Wilkins, right? That's certainly the story heading into the game. Who's going to start? You wake up this morning and the word was that Scotty Fox was going to get the start. Well, he finished the day 6 for 17 for 47 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Khalil Wilkins had 10 pass attempts, converted 5 of them for 32 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. So a whopping 2.8 yard average per pass attempt for the Mountaineers, just abysmal. They just don't throw touchdowns ever, right? You had, I think, one against BYU, and couldn't tell you when one was before that. Just terrible. Khalil Wilkins led the team in rushing yards, 15 carries, 48 yards. He continues to be able to get things done on the ground, right? 15 carries. He's shifty. He's shiftier than Scotty Fox is, and for an offensive line that is just so bad all season long, it's not good. Mountaineer offensive line gave up 7 sacks. Most of those, maybe 4 or 5 of them, were against Scotty Fox, where he just, either took a little long or didn't have anywhere to throw the football, or they just got in the backfield mighty quickly. They had 8 tackles for loss as well. I mean, they had what was it? I guess it was a pick 6. Yeah. Or a fumble recovery. Was it I don't even remember. Yeah, it was. Yeah, no one threw a pick. It was a fumble recovery by Lawson that ended up in a touchdown for him and UCF, and just flat out embarrassing. Again, there's one bright spot on this team, and it's the punter. It's the punter. I said earlier in the week, if you remember, maybe it was when I was on a guest appearance elsewhere, but I said, you know what, if you got to get these weapons involved, because I do believe there's talent around the quarterbacks, even though the offensive line is terrible. I believe in Cam Vaughn. I believe in Rodney Gallagher and his ability, and Bowie, and they tried a little bit to get those guys involved, Justin Smith-Brown. But like I said, I was like, you know what, if we're sitting here looking at a box score post-game, literally said this, if we're coming out of this game saying, well, look, Cam Vaughn had 2 catches for 19 yards. West Virginia's not going to win this football game, and probably wouldn't be pretty. I don't know if I said that, but wouldn't be pretty. And lo and behold, Cam Vaughn had 2 catches for 15 yards. So I was just a little bit off, but you get the point. And Mountaineers just continue to suck. I mean, it's bad. It's really, really, really bad. 49 carries, 131 yards, and you just got punked. I mean, you just had drive after drive after drive that was really, really bad. In the first quarter, they had 3 drives. One was a 3-and-out. One was a 4-play drive and then a punt. One was a 10-play turnover on downs. Second quarter, you got that touchdown in the first drive, and then it was a punt, and a missed field goal, like 42-yard field goal. And then third quarter, you had a fumble, you had a punt, that fumble that resulted in 6. Then in the fourth quarter, you had a turnover on downs, you had another punt, and then it took you 3 plays to get 1 yard on that touchdown that the defense, Jordan Walker, set you up with. And we already described that play and, the snap that sent you back to the 20-yard line and all that, but just really, really bad. And we've obviously grown accustomed to this, but it's still disappointing. Again, while I'm not personally, nervous watching a game like I normally am, or not, on the edge of my seat, or, there hasn't been a fourth quarter where we've been BYU, again, we kept it a little closer than the score indicated, losing by 14, but, I don't think BYU had any doubt they were going to win that football game, and so far in Big 12 play, that's been the case for every Mountaineer opponent. You are sitting at 0-4. You just gave UCF their first win in conference play, moving them to 1-3. You're 2-5 overall, and the injuries keep piling up, and I get that. Ty Edwards officially out for the season. That was official today, and you feel for him, and you feel for Gene White. You feel for all these guys that are, banged up, and I don't know what else to say. This is really bad. This is a bad season. A bad season that just won't seem to end. And, it's crazy. We're through 7 games already. It feels like it's gone by like that, but also feels like it's dragging at the same time. You know what I mean? Let's move on to basketball season, man, because this is ridiculous. And the execution offensively, defensively is not there. It's horrendous. Again, you can blame the poor offensive line, which you should. You can blame quarterback play, which you should. You should blame, the defense a lot of ways, since Big 12 play started, and you should, because this is a Mountaineer defense, and coming into Big 12 play, they were looking pretty good. Lots of sacks, lots of picks, lots of fumble recoveries, holding opponents down in the run game, and then Kansas hangs 41 on you, Utah hangs 48 on you, BYU hangs 38 on you, and UCF gets 45 on you. So, hanging around 40-something, 40-plus points a game through Big 12 play by your defense that you're giving up, and then the offense ain't doing anything. Offense just ain't doing anything. I don't know how else to describe it, right? But I will say, we'll probably close with this, but this Mountaineer defense, and I get there's a step up in competition, but this is a whole new ballgame, whole new unit that we've seen through 4 games of conference play that is really, really scary. It's not pretty. Taven Jackson, the UCF starter today at quarterback, 23 for 34, 277, 2 touchdowns and a pick. That was a nice play. Very nice play by Jason Chambers. But then, you look at their rushing attack, and we talked about that heading into this game. Miles Montgomery, very, very, very good so far, and his counterpart Jaden Nixon, who came in averaging 11 or 12 yards a carry. Well, that went up, believe it or not, because he had 7 carries for $116, including an 83-yarder for over 16 yards a pop for him. As a team, 255 yards and over 7 yards a carry and 3 touchdowns. The rushing attack did whatever they wanted to, but again, Taven Jackson was finding open receiver after open receiver, and there were, of his 23 pass completions, there were a couple plays a UCF receiver made a really nice play, but there was a lot of times when guys were just wide open, and this secondary has been really, really bad, flat out really, really bad lately. So, again, this might be the most negative episode in the history of Mountaineer Moment in the podcast here, but rightfully so, because you just got embarrassed in front of a 65% full stadium down in Orlando, and you lose 45-13, and you don't have a quarterback. You don't know what the heck you're doing. You miss an extra point at the end, which was extremely fitting. Your defense is Swiss cheese. There's holes everywhere. There's gaps everywhere. UCF converted, their 2 touchdowns, thrown to that receiver who only came in with like 70 yards on the season, had 89 and 2 touchdowns. Both of those were early in the game, and both of those came on fourth down. So your late down execution on defense continues to hinder you. We've seen that movie before in Big 12 play as well, against Utah. And again, there's not much positive to say. This is embarrassing. You are the worst of the worst in the Big 12. You're 0-4. Not to say that other teams in the Big 12 aren't really struggling right now, but you're getting embarrassed week in and week out. And the only light at the end of the tunnel is the fact that the season is going to end at some point. And you got 5 games left to go to somehow, some way try and like create something out of nothing, because that's what it would be doing right now, is creating something out of nothing. Because right now you got nothing. This team is bad. You don't have a quarterback. You're just playing a revolving door at quarterback. Scotty Fox, you get a turn. Khalil Wilkins, you get a turn. Khalil Wilkins, all right, you get 3 drives. Scotty Fox, you come back in. You come take a beating because your offensive line can't protect you. You make a bad read on a throw. You overthrow somebody, and then you change another quarterback, and it's bad. It's like the YMCA and pickup basketball, like the announcer said during the pick game. Like it's a revolving door, and you know what they say, when you have 3, 2, 3, 4, 5 quarterbacks, you got none. And that's what the Mountaineers have right now, plain and simple. So this, again, episode 49 of Mountaineer Moment. If you want to continue to listen to me vent and continue to listen to me struggle through this season, and you want to struggle alongside with me, you can subscribe to the podcast, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. Episode 49 of Mountaineer Moment. We'll see you next time.